anti-gun violence advocates, including Alima DaCosta, fears more residents with concealed carry permits will add to an increase in crime. I feel that forcing Hawaii to implement a more lenient open carry process will lead to increased and random violence, where families, neighbors, coworkers, or even strangers who are involved in a relatively minor dispute will end up in increasingly deadly situations. Officials at the Hawaii Rifle Association believe just the
operation numbers. In 2021, the number of firearm permits processed across the state decreased, but the number of actual firearms went up. That's according to the state attorney general's office. The annual report just released said permits decreased by 10.8% last year, and nearly 23,300 personal and private firearm permit applications were processed. Now, this decline in permit applications happened before the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a New York law that required people to show a specific need to carry a firearm in public. That happened earlier this summer. In July, Honolulu Police Chief Joe Logan told the Honolulu Police Commission HPD has seen an increase in applications from the public to carry a firearm following that decision.
Welcome to CounterPoint Da Kine. All right. So today we're going to talk about something important. It's affecting us in Hawaii and a lot of other places too. And that is the SCOTUS Supreme Court of the U.S. declaring that you can carry a concealed weapon, which puts Hawaii in a tendency because with the Young versus Hawaii case of 2012 that went to the 9th District Court and sent back to be approved, woo! Now there's stalled 77 cases that can't get their applications through. Why? Because the state has added extended background checks and mental health reviews. What do you think about this, Pepper?
I'm on the fence. I am for the mental background checks, and I'm for the extended background checks. However, I am a gun owner, and I feel it is my right to have my weapon to protect myself at all times. Personally, I came from a state that was very loose about it, and that was Arizona.
Ooh.
And it's one of those things where you want people with the concealed weapons permits to have their concealed weapons permits. Reason being is because we've all seen the population boom here in Hawaii, and we're up to, when I first moved here in 07, it was like 600 to 1 million people, depending on what was going on with military deployment and whatnot. Now it's 1 million people just period, no matter what's going on. And my degree is criminal justice, and so I've studied on these things, and I know that once you hit 1 million in population, you have certain types of crimes that are going to happen. They just come with the territory.
Yeah, because last year in 2021, within the state of Hawaii, we had 3,600 violent assaults. So half of those are domestic, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, half of those domestic. So let's get to the real number. There's about 1,700 to 2,000 that are violent cases out of 1 million people. Does that justify vigilantism? Does that justify people acting in fear like the police does when they say they're shooting somebody in the dark?
That definitely does not justify either of those. I feel like those are separate issues. The vigilantism, can someone name a case where it's happened?
I know,
So,
right?
I just know that from being here that our gun assaults on that deal are still minimal. But when I first came here, you hear about one a month, one every 3 months. It was a very rare occasion. Now you hear about one a week. So those the reason why I say that you want people with their concealed weapons permits is because you already have people walking around carrying guns without those permits, and you have no
Right,
way of
right.
tracking that.
And see, people forget to apply the economic factor too.
Yep.
You know, things are a little more desperate out there.
Yep.
Let's admit it. You know, you say, oh, you can find a job doing anything, but yeah, anything at $10 an hour, is that paying your rent?
Yeah.
You know, oh, we went up from 7 to 12. No, that's
At all.
still not helping.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, the cost of food is getting higher. Gas is almost $6. You know, I'm surprised people aren't, you know, pulling them out at the gas pump saying, give me your gas.
Yes. And the thing that I will always advocate for...
Don't start that.
The thing that I will always advocate for concealed weapons permits is the fact that they expire.
Ah.
So if you're a person who applies for a concealed weapon, depending on the state and their laws, you have to reapply for that about every 3 years.
Education, people.
So therefore, that means you have to take a class, and you also have to go through another background check to make sure you haven't had any violent stuff happen in that time frame. So
And now they're adding the mental
deal. So now you're keeping track of people. You really do have, I hate to use the phrase, but you really do have responsible people, the good guy with the gun deal, if you go under the CCW law, because you're tracking these people, you know they're taking classes, they have to re-register, that all their weapons have to be registered, and they have to continue that education in order to keep their concealed weapon. So whereas everybody else is just rolling around with guns.
That's what it seems like, yeah. And what happened with the Supreme Court with especially Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas? Now they're saying leave the background checks with the conceal and carry. They're saying you can increase the age, but they have yet to do that federally or any state. But they're superseding the 1911 Sullivan Act of New York. That's what they did, which opened up the 1852 and overseeded the 1852 law in Hawaii to not conceal and carry or deadly force upon anybody, to the 2012 Young versus Hawaii case. Should they be superseding stated in apparently historical law?
I say yes, personally. I really do.
You agree with the
I agree.
Supreme Court?
Look,
yeah.
Hey, if you're a person, you can't always rely on the police to come and protect you off of the deal. A guy just got his hand chopped off at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Now,
That was an
granted,
employee.
that was a 7-Eleven employee who he had a sword behind the counter. I don't know what was going on here, but that was a whole different deal. But at the same time, you should have a right to protect yourself.
You should.
And I am, like I will always say, I am for responsible gun ownership, completely responsible. But at the same time, I'm not one of these gun nuts. All those assault weapons, they have no place on the street. Plain and simple.
Right.
They have no place on the street. If you have a personal handgun, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
If you want to go hunting, I'm okay with the hunting rifle. But these little military style guns that are like, well, it's not technically military. Shut up. You're not shooting a deer with this whole magazine over the deal.
Yeah, unless you freak a scene.
Yeah.
Thing.
Exactly. You don't need all that. You don't.
Yeah, you don't cut up your deer with your gun. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that said, also, I'm gonna take it there. This is the point where we're gonna take it there, because this is what I'm gonna play devil advocates on in regard. I'm going to take it there because what I want to talk about is the violence that is happening now, like Uvalde. Buffalo, North Carolina, in the malls in Georgia. Now, if the teacher had a gun, which they do not allow in Texas right now, a lot of people are saying that young boy would be gone.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people said the reason why the person in the mall in North Carolina got caught was somebody was in there with a gun.
Exactly.
And the reason why it went down the way it did in Buffalo, nobody walked in the store with a gun.
Yep.
What do you think when they talk like that?
That proves my point on the concealed weapons. The ones that got stopped were people who lawfully had all their stuff registered, and they were unfortunately in the right place at the right time to make things stop. As stated, for all those assault weapons, that's a whole nother can of worms, where you can order certain parts on the internet and then put them together yourself and never put a serial number in it or never have to register it. All that stuff needs to be just totally
Outlaw.
I'm completely against
Totally
that kind of
outlaw.
stuff. I know in Arizona they have there in several other states they have loopholes, whereas
Ooh.
so you go to a gun show,
Oh, the
you
gun
can just
show
go ahead and
loophole.
buy whatever you want to buy, and you're at a satellite deal. They're not doing all these background checks off
And
of
then
a
they
thing.
disappear tomorrow, and you can't
Yeah.
even trace where it came from.
Exactly, that's ridiculous.
And that's worse than selling arms in Ukraine through Poland. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's horrible. The gun show loophole should be closed, but that gun lobby, as hard as James in New York tried to go after Palantir, it did not shut down the NRA organization. It's still as strong
That's
as
what's sad,
ever.
because their pockets are deep, and
Yeah.
they keep paying off all these senators and all these congressmen
yeah.
and women, and it's ridiculous.
Palantir is still a member, but he's just not running things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, what I'll say about these assault weapons. All right, I'm gonna say something to all you gun nuts out there. Now, I'm a carrier, and I got your back, but I will say, when it comes to these assault weapons and all these big boy toys, you don't need it. You know you don't need it. Plain and simple, you don't. If you want to shoot some military style weapons and that grade of weapons, and play Rambo on the weekend and live out your fantasy, you need to go down to your local recruiter's office and sign up for the military. All that stuff needs to be kept on the military base, and you can go and sign in once the military passes you for clearance. Shoot all you want.
All right, I appreciate that, Pepper. Good talk. Now, what is going on with Stand Up Honolulu this week?
Well, as usual, we have great comics from all over the planet traveling in here to Hawaii at Hawaii's only comedy club. Stand Up Honolulu, you can get your tickets for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday shows, and then join us for poetry on Sundays.
All right, maybe Skye the Soul Poet will come. Yeah. But I shouldn't be the only one. Y'all come on too.
Come on out. And thank you for watching CounterPoint Da Kine.
Catch you on the next show. All right.